Today we're going to do some transplanting here, and if you recall, if you remember, these tomatoes back here in the grow bed here were these two were the survivors of the cherry tomatoes that were growing over there in a little clump right about there, and I transplanted them here. You can see these are doing really good. These are a Brandywine tomato that I planted, and these were some leftover seeds of Brandywine tomato that I planted about the same time. Now these have got to come out of here. As you can see, they can't continue to grow in here. And these are doing quite well in here, but as you can see, these are actually doing better if you look at them, comparing them, see? So what I'm going to do is take these outside and transplant them into some flower pots like these, because these Brandywine tomatoes are really, really good tomatoes, and you can't get them in the store, to the produce rack. So we'll take them outside and transplant them into regular pots like that. Okay, so here we are up in what we call our sun deck. Now this deck faces east, and built this a long time ago, and it's got a clear roof on it, so this gets a lot of sun in the morning. And right now it's let's see, let me find the thermometer here. It's 86 degrees in here right now. So now it is the March the 8th or 9th, I think, right now, so it's still very early. It's not quite officially spring yet, so even though it gets very cold out here during the daytime with the sun shining and so forth, it gets really warm in here. Like I said, it was 86 degrees right now, and it's about noon or something like that right now, maybe a little past noon. So now these are those tomato plants that I was talking about. Now these are Brandywine tomatoes, and the reason they're named Brandywine is they're an heirloom tomato, and what that means is you can save the seeds and plant the seeds next year, and you'll get the same plant. They're not hybrids. And these are a great big handful sized tomato, and they're very sweet, and I think that's why they call them Brandywine. I don't know if they ever used to make wine out of them. I've heard rumors that maybe they have. But they're very sweet tomatoes, and you can't get them in the store in the produce rack, like I said, because they don't ship well, which is what, they got to have that for commercial produce. Anyway, so what I want to do is, as I showed you earlier, see how these are really kind of compact. See, they're growing themselves out of a place to live here. So what we want to do is, step one is put them into a pot like this. And what these are, these are a compostable material. And you can plant something in here, and the roots will grow right through this stuff. And then you can plant this into a bigger pot, or just plant it outside. But right now, these have got to be moved into something bigger, because they're not going to survive here. So the first thing we've got to do is get these out of here, but we've got to get them out of here in a way that'll not damage the roots. And I found the best way to do that is to take what dirt you have in here, or the soil that's in here, and just soak it with water, just completely waterlog it. And then it turns out what you have is a very loose, muddy mess. And then you can get the plants out of that mess with minimal damage to the roots. So I'm going to go and get some water in this. I'm going to dip this in one of my water tanks out here. So here we go. Okay, there we are. I'm not sure you can see that level in there. You can see I put water clear up to the top. And what I'm going to do is just set this down for a little while and let that water soak in there until it becomes just a muddy, soft, muddy mess. So we'll be back here in about 5 minutes. Okay, so here we are back again, and these should be nice and soggy now. So let's kind of lift this out, and there we go. Okay, now as you can see, let's try to get the ones on the edge first. Very gentle. And all right, there. Okay, now we've got most of the roots out of that one, and that one's intact. So now what we want to do is let's do this one first. We are going to just kind of put this one down in here, and then we're going to put soil all around it. I didn't get to see that very well, but let me do a little bit right here so you can see it. So basically what I've got is some good potting soil that I'm putting in this, and the potting soil is a little bit damp, but that's about it. Now that's not going to be good enough to transplant these. You've got to have this very, very wet. So what I'm going to do is do the rest of these just like this, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, I've got all of them done here except for one, and the reason I held this one back out, I want to show you something. So what we got here, 4, 8, 9, and 10. This is the 10th one. Now when you separate them all, they kind of look like this, and you notice they have roots kind of starting at the very end down here. But what you want to do when you plant these is you want to put as much stem as you can in the dirt, because the stem will grow roots as well, so that'll help them get started a lot better. So let's get another one of these pots. There we go. Okay, so back here. Now remember how the roots were just dangling on the bottom of this? You'll see I just put them all the way to the bottom, and I refilled it with good potting soil. So the roots are down kind of clumped up at the bottom, and a lot of the stem that was already on there is down in the soil right now. So that ought to help them. Now then, the thing we've got to do is make sure these get very well soaked, because when they're transplanted like this, to allow the roots to get a good start, to get a good grip on the soil, if you want to call it that, the roots need to reestablish themselves in the soil. And so what you want to do to help that along is, once you put them in good soil like this, and hopefully have not damaged the roots much, what you want to do is get them nice and wet, so that the roots have a better chance to make their way through the soil and reestablish themselves. I'll put as many in here as I can. Okay, there's 6 in there, and I can probably get a 7th one. Yeah, there we go. Get a 7th one. Okay, so now there's 7 in there. Now I got 3 more, and I believe I'll actually, because this is where they came from, and this is full of, oh look, there's 1 more. Okay, that's good. I got 1. Well, there's 2 more. Okay, anyway, here, what I've got now, I've got all these plants in here. I've got 10 altogether, I think. No, let's see. No, there's 14 altogether. Now, the last few that I did, remember I was talking about how to get the roots down in there and all that? There's 2 dummies in here. I didn't put anything in, but they're in here for spacing, to keep these spaced. And what I'm going to do here is, the water that's still left over from this thing, I'm just going to pour it in here. There we go. And we don't need any of the mud, so I'm going to dump that out. And go over and get some more water, and then we'll fill both of these up with water right to the top. Okay, there they are. All soaked in water and soil. And we'll have to see how they do. Now, out here, I'll have to bring them in at night, because, like I said, it still can freeze out here, and it does. And I'll put them out here in the daytime and see how they do. Now, some of these might not make it, because sometimes that's just how things go. But in about a month, the survivors should be good, strong tomato plants ready for transplanting outside.